everyone. Welcome again to the Crooke and Candle Podcast. First off, it's hot.
Yeah.
It's very hot.
If you couldn't tell.
In Seattle. Yeah, look it.
Yeah.
I got my best white trash accoutrement.
Yeah, I would have worn my my jacket, but
Hell
no, it's still pretty warm. At least it's almost September. That's when we're expecting it to cool down because fall's almost around the corner.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Because I know I looked at the weather and it's 80 degrees for the next 10 days.
Yeah, so it's brutal.
It's pretty bad. But we're still here. We're still doing our thing.
Yep.
Got an interesting topic today for anyone who's, in a creative career. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But how was your week?
My week was good. It was, it was just, nothing really special happened during the week. Although, initially last week, actually the episode today we were going to do was going to be with my friend Will.
Yeah, you work with him.
He's not here. He's not here because literally right as I hit him up, I called him so he can get up super early, which he normally doesn't get up that early. So I kind of felt bad for that, but he was willing to do it. So I'm like, okay, cool. Then he fucking hits me up and he's like, dude, I don't got money for gas. And he just shows me this image of his checking account. And it's zero, big ass goose egg.
Yeah. Broke.
Yeah. Broke, so we're going to reschedule that. Ignore them.
Come on, dog. Stop.
Come on. Stop barking. It's okay. So yeah, we're going to be rescheduling that for next Monday.
Yeah, something like
that. I'll definitely talk to him.
Yeah, Will's a musician in a band, plays drums, if I remember correctly.
Yes, and that's the main reason we wanted to have him on. But because, in fact, he has some interesting things about himself as far as creative shit that I thought was interesting. So we'll definitely get to that when we get to that. But otherwise, yeah, the week was good. How was yours?
It was really cool. I actually am back from 3 days of the Seattle Film Festival. No, Tattoo Convention.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was interesting. Tons of people. It felt really good just because, with COVID and everything over the last so many years, there's so many things that we kind of had to stop doing.
Yeah.
I know I went to a metal show recently, a couple weeks ago with my girlfriend, and that was cool just because, again, there's people.
Yeah.
And you're getting to see live music. And for this same thing, a lot of people, a lot of incredible artists, a lot of incredible tattoo shops that were representing. And I even entered a contest.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, a large black and gray. Didn't place.
Oh, okay.
Even though the tattoo was freaking awesome, it was just, when it comes to black and gray tattooing, there's so many really good artists, and the person that won, I mean, it was,
yeah,
huge tattoo, under their ribs all the way down their leg.
Okay.
And the tattoo I had done was Chelsea's, my girlfriend's tattoo.
Oh yeah, the xenomorph.
Yeah, it started off as just a xenomorph I designed, which looks fucking badass, if I do say so myself. And then I ended up talking to her. I'm like, it'd be really cool if we could do a background. And so I ended up putting in a background of like a hallway in the Nostromo or whatever, And there's actually a little kind of valve on the wall, and it's spewing smoke.
Make sure to send me pictures.
I'll send you a picture so you guys can see it.
So you guys can see it.
Yeah, and I put some egg pods.
Yeah,
and one of them's opening up, and there's a face hugger coming out. That's one of my favorite tattoos that I've ever done because it's just done really well.
No, yeah, you've shown it to me, and yeah, it's a good tattoo. I mean, most of your tattoos are fucking good. So
thank you. So yeah, it didn't place, but I had a blast, and I mean, there was food trucks and hot dog stands, and there was vendors selling wares, and there was an alcohol garden, which was it was just super fun. It was super hot though. It was very. It feels like the humidity has went down a little bit, but I know like Friday, Saturday, it was just so humid.
Oh, dude. Like, yeah. Like, it was just so hot. Like, I was in my fucking room and I was just sweating.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like an oven, but it's just, it's so.
It's that wet hot.
It's that wet hot where
Yeah.
it's like, you just feel, yeah, it's just miserable.
So, but yeah, it was very interesting, and I know the shop I work at, Northwest Creations, they're actually going to be going to another convention. I believe it's called Three Rivers. It's like 3 hours from here. It's in Washington, but we're going to be doing that in September, and I'm really looking forward to it because I had a lot of fun. And it made me reevaluate some things as it comes to tattooing. Because I've talked to you, if you've listened, you've probably heard me talking about wanting to retire from tattooing and doing film and painting, and which is it's almost a good lead into what we're going to be talking about today, which is having a plan B when it comes to your creative endeavors.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, again, if you've listened to the podcast, I wanted to move to Portugal.
Yeah, that was the original plan.
By 2024, but that kind of got a little bit axed. I was wanting to open a tattoo shop out there, and wanted my youngest son, Julian, to help and learn to tattoo and stuff. He didn't eventually want to do it, which was really disappointing. And then I held on to that dream.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I just kind of had to be like, it's not going to happen by then. I definitely want to eventually get to Europe. I do have goals to purchase, a house or two. I'd love to have a place in Italy. I'd love to have a place in Portugal, and maybe a place in France. And those are big goals.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I had some specific things. Like I was like, I don't want to get into a relationship until I get to Europe. And then there was a caveat where I was like, unless I meet someone who boom, 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 boom. There's all these boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like an impossible list. I'm like, there's no freaking way I'll ever meet this girl that checks off all these boxes. But at the same time, I was tattooing my girlfriend before she was my girlfriend. And just as time was going by, I think I tattooed her for 10 months. And she just kept checking off boxes. And I was like, okay. And so we started dating in April. And that was something where I had a kind of a solid plan, but it changed. As far as my tattooing career, I really did want, I want to retire. I want to retire. I want to focus on painting. But the great thing about my girlfriend, she's in finance. She's really good with numbers and organizational stuff and money. And she's like, you need like a 6-month sabbatical. You need, where you can go someplace and just paint. And, rent here at this apartment is taken care of. I'm able to put money down on a place for 6 months to rent. And everything's kind of taken care of. And,
Yeah.
And she was like, it might take you a couple years, to be able to do that, which is something I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But again, because of like when she really kind of broke down like some numbers and what it would take, and I realized, it might be a year or two, a year and a half, 2, before I could do this, it kind of made the idea of retiring I kind of had to do a plan B. And I think it's important for artists and creatives to kind of have a plan B. And I'm not talking about a plan B that's like, oh, I want to do X in the creative field. And if I can't get there, then I'll go work at Whole Foods. Or
Right.
That's not the plan B
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm talking about more like having a goal and kind of setting some parameters. But as time's going on, you got to be open to morphing your plans a little bit.
Yeah.
Being able to give yourself a little wiggle room, because creative endeavors are tough. They're tough. They're a big challenge to make it in anything that's creative. And you don't want to get depressed because, you didn't make your goal.
Right. Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes that, not even just creative people, but people in general, like they'll have this dream. I want to be this. And that's the only thing they're focusing on. But then things don't pan out that way. And then they get older and older and they're trying. And eventually they get to this point where they're like, I don't think this is ever going to fucking happen. And so, if they only have that one plan or that one dream and then it just doesn't pan out the way they hoped, they get depressed and they don't see, the good road. And so they're like, oh, I guess I'll just get a normal job or whatever. And that, it's not fulfilling.
Well, one of the things, and you got to think about this, and I was actually talking to my girlfriend the other day about this because I was at the convention. I was having such a good time, and I was like, I think I'm going to reevaluate some stuff.
Yeah.
And so something to always keep in mind, especially if you are a young creative. There's something that when you're young, you don't really understand, and that is time. So what I mean is when you're younger, and I did this, when you're younger, you say, okay, I want to do X and I want to be successful at it by, and you give yourself a year or 2 years, like maximum like 5 years.
Right.
Because you're young. You don't think about 10 years from now, 15 years from now. Now, when you start getting older, you do. You start having the experience of understanding what it takes to be successful at something, and the time it takes and the effort that's involved. And so you tend to, like, when I make goals for myself, like right now, like I said, Portugal 2024 didn't happen, but I'm 51, and at this point I'm like, well, getting to Europe by 60, that's fine.
Yeah.
And like with my painting career, when I was younger, I was like, I want to show my art and be, kind of famous by the time I'm 25. And that didn't happen. But as I got into my 30s, and I've always maintained that I want to paint, and not only to paint, but be a voice, and, have some success and some recognition. But I think, I got in my late 30s and I realized, I'm like, it's not like my priorities changed, where I was like, it's not really important. I don't need to be famous or rich by next year. What I need for my life is to be creative.
Yeah.
That's it. Like if I'm 70 some years old and facing, stepping into that undiscovered country that we always have, everyone has to go through, which is to face your mortality. And I'm not rich and famous, but I've lived as an artist. I've never given up. I'm excellent at what I do. I'm recognized for what I do. I have a great group of friends around me.
Yeah.
Who love me, you know? And if I can have that, then that's what will make my life worth living. Not how much money I could make or you know, how famous I am, you know?
Yeah.
And I think just in any creative endeavor, if you're just focused on doing what you do, doing the creative thing that you do with passion and trying to make everything that you do, trying to make it as good as possible, always trying to learn, always trying to grow. If you do that, I think the byproduct of living that way in many occasions is you're going to make money. You're going to get a certain amount of recognition, you know, and going into anything, I'm sure we've talked about this in a previous podcast, going into a creative aspect going, I want to make a lot of money and I want to have, you know, stupid amounts of success. And that is why I want to be famous. I want people to pat me on my back.
Right.
Going into it for that, those reasons are reasons which are going to make your experience a negative one.
Yeah.
Because most likely it's not going to work out.
Yeah. Well, and it's a very narrow-minded way to look at it because, like, obviously, like, even myself, it's like, of course, I want to make money and a living doing creative shit as well. I mean, that's why we did the LLC for Third Gen Media, because the plan is to eventually make that business into something where I can get paid being an editor, and you can be paid doing, just running the business and shit like that and getting clients. So, of course, like I've had these, dreams, and I still do, like of, making a living, just being a creative minded person and just creating shit, whatever that is, whether it's doing art or making videos or whatever, it's just something that can, make me money. But at the same time, I think the problem is that some people don't take into consideration, does this make me fulfilled? Does this make me does this make me happy? Because I think, Kali, you're interrupting my flow right now. Like, seriously. Kali, come here. Dogs. Yes, she's being a problem child right now. All right. Stay quiet. Yeah, so...
You want me to go put her in the...
Yes, please.
Keep talking.
But yeah, like I was saying, it's like the thing that sometimes people don't take into consideration is whether they feel fulfilled. And so they'll, put in years and time into something to get good at something, for the goal of, I want to be successful. I want to be, I want to make tons and tons of money, and I want to get, be able to get chicks and, all this shit. And it's like, okay, yeah, those are cool perks, but does it really make you happy? And I think sometimes people will go so far down that road with that one mind that, yeah, they might end up successful, but they might be fucking depressed and be like, this does not bring me any fulfillment.
Perfect example. And you can go get on YouTube and look it up. Britney Spears.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Britney Spears at one time was one of the biggest pop stars.
Yeah.
Okay?
Straight up.
She became so famous and so rich, but she couldn't be a normal person. She couldn't.
Yeah.
And, she had all this fame. I remember watching a video where she wanted to go shopping for baby clothes for a friend of hers who was going to have a baby shower. And they, like 4 black SUVs pull up to this store, which they've emptied of people. so that she can shop without being mobbed. And she's walking around looking at stuff like, what do you think of this? Showing her assistant who's got a tablet sitting there making notes and doing all her shit. And it just was so sad. And, you know, that's why when you, and eventually there's the video of her shaving her head off.
Yeah, she went,
because her mental health was going out the window. But she was rich and famous.
Yeah, like,
okay, so that's not being rich and famous is not the end all be all of being a creative person. You have to have a balance. You know, you have to have the correct mindset going into it. As a matter of fact, I want to say, oh my goodness, I can't think of his name. It's one of the guitarists for, it's Izzy Stradlin from Guns N' Roses.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And he wrote a ton of the music and, you know, but Guns N' Roses got so big, eventually he left.
Right.
Well, he got sober, I think, if I remember correctly. He got sober.
Wait, wasn't Slash the original guitarist?
No, Slash and Izzy are the guitarists. There's two guitarists.
Oh, there's two. Okay. Right. Okay.
So, but eventually Izzy left, and one of the things he said in an interview was, you know, we got too big. Like, I didn't want all of this fame. Like, I wanted to be kind of a regular guy, but I do rock and roll.
Yeah.
And have a measure of success. I could pay my bills. I could buy a house. But the fame became so much that he had to walk away for, again, mental health. It's important.
Yeah.
And, you know, I actually have someone close to me who, and I've had conversations with this person a couple times, where they dreamed of fame. And it was something that was like foremost on their mind. And I would talk to them about it and be like, well, you got to do all this work, and, you know, you have to, you know, be consistent. And they didn't want to hear that. They just wanted the fame. And even if this person could have somehow miraculously achieved this fame that they were seeking, which fame is really more people know you than you know these people. Yeah. Okay. And they pat you on the back. So there's not a lot to it. You know, I would hate to be able to, or not be able to just go have a meal. Yeah. You know, go to a restaurant, and like, if you get a certain amount of fame, you go to a restaurant and people are getting up from their tables, coming over. Hey, can I take a picture with you? And can you sign this? You know what? And you're like, dude, can I just? So it's like, and that's why when you look at people that do get kind of famous, and nowadays it's like, you can get famous because the way our society works with the technology we have is that you can be doing something and it's just fun and you make some videos of it, and then all of a sudden it starts going viral. Yeah. And you didn't really intend this. In a way, this kind of was similar to when you look in the past, all the creatives or artists, musicians, whatever, that died, the 27 Club. I was talking to a lady as I was tattooing yesterday. I was tattooing her, and Janis Joplin came on because they had speakers and you could hear music throughout the hall. And she goes, such a bummer that she died at 27. And I said, yeah. And she said, well, this is what I think it is. And she gave her 2 cents. And I said, well, my 2 cents is they don't have a school or a class that you can take on how to deal with sudden fame. Right. And these people are getting famous and they're young. And on top of that, the way that they're able to do the art that they do is they're not like everyone else. Yeah. They're not the popular kid. They're the weird kid. Eddie Van Halen was not popular. He would sit in his room for 12 hours a day playing his guitar. Yeah. But eventually because you can focus on your passion so intently that you become very skilled at what you do. And then all of a sudden, when you like, he's practicing guitar. And on top of this, another one, you don't, because you're focused on your creativity, you're not necessarily hanging out with people. You're not learning how to interact. So once you start getting some fame and people start blowing smoke up your ass, you're the best. Hey man, you want some cocaine? Let me hang out with you. I got some cocaine.
Yeah, you don't
know like, and you or hey, let me just hang out with you. And so a normal person might get around someone and someone's trying to give them something. Like if I don't know someone really well, but they're like, "Oh, here, you want a PlayStation?" Or they're trying to give me something.
Yeah.
Red flags go up.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want from me? Why are you trying to give me something for nothing? Mm-hmm. But a creative person can actually not have learned those cues because they're so focused on their creativity.
Yeah.
That once they start getting a certain amount of fame, people are coming around them, and red flags aren't going up.
Yeah, because they don't know how to deal with it.
They don't know how to deal with it. And that's when, alcohol, drugs, crazy living, you could die.
Yeah.
I mean, so many, like one of my favorite artists is Jean-Michel Basquiat. And same, 27, overdosed. And, those are the warning, the stories of how not to do it, and so between being a creative and kind of suddenly almost accidentally becoming famous, or going into it with the mindset of this is what I want to do, but I don't necessarily want to do it for money and fame. I want to do it because I love it, and I'm going to surround myself with a good group of people that are really supportive of me and have my back and can help me, progress in my career. That's the way you would want to do it.
Right. Well, and it's kind of funny too, because because when you really examine why a lot of people, especially if we're just, talking about creative people, like why they want to get famous, it's like, and it's like, I can relate to this. It's like, when you don't feel normal and you don't feel popular and, you feel like nobody gets you or all that stuff was one of the things you want. You want attention. You want people to pay attention to you and to, to think you're cool, So it's like the thing that drives a lot of these people to want to be famous is to, to get that attention. But then eventually when they do get it, they haven't developed all these other skills, or developed any of these other things about their personality or the things that would make you a cool person to people in general, so that by the time you do get famous, you just don't know how to fucking deal with it. So, like, if anything, it's like one of the most important things, if anything, especially just living my life, that I think is super important, especially if you're young, if you're, listening to this. Like, don't worry so much on trying to get famous. And, obviously, people want attention and people want to feel valued. So I feel the best thing to do is just like, you can develop those deficiencies. Like, you can develop whatever it is you need to. You want to feel more cool and people like you, like, learn how to develop your social skills. Mm-hmm. Learn, fucking, do you look like a slob? Fucking get better style. Mm-hmm. Like, get some better swag, something that makes you feel like you.
And just like right now, that's why like Elon Musk is, he's like, unless you want to like be a surgeon,
right,
or a lawyer, you can learn so much, for free. Mm-hmm. With the technology we have online, and there's different websites, like I know one's like Domestika, so it's like learn how to edit with DaVinci Resolve. And you can pay
Udemy and shit like
you can pay $20 and there's 3-hour class on how to do it. So you can do that with anything. If you're shy, if you're, you don't have good social skills and you want to learn to be more charismatic, you can go on and listen to people and they'll give you insights into things that you can start doing to change who you are as far as how you deal with things and people and stuff like that. And you can there's a guy, what is it? Ryan, can't think of his last name. I bought his book, but he's written a couple books and he's way into the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, different, and these people had ways of looking at life and how to deal with life on life's terms and not let it take over your mind with negativity and I'm not good enough, and being able to look at yourself in a certain way so that you can deal with life without the pitfalls and the negative thinking, really. And so if you want to learn about people, actually I got a book recently by Robert Greene called The Laws of Human Nature. And I feel like I know a lot about people, and humans do have their nature, and once you understand it, you understand how to interact with people. It's the reason why I always say, there's no such thing as psychics, especially the ones where they got a little shop that's got psychic palm reader, this and that, because I know me, if I was going to be a psychic, I don't have to actually be a psychic.
Right.
All I need to do is know human nature. So the fact that even if I'm just out on the street and I have 2 chairs and a table and a little sign that says psychic, if a person comes and sits down, that tells me a large amount of who I'm dealing with. Okay. And I'm like, you learn how to read someone. You're like, I'm getting, it's about a relationship. No, because I might say relationship and you move your head or your eyes a certain way. And I'm like, okay, that's not it. Was your work? Okay. Yes. Work. You're working. Are you going to get a raise? And I'm talking to you and watching you. And I know people, they want to know, am I going to fall in love?
Right.
Am I going to make money? Get a raise?
Am I going to become famous?
Am I going to get exactly? There's only so many things that actually motivates people to do things. So it's like once you learn the nature of people, it's easier to interact with them. But these are things that, because people are not as mysterious and complex as we're led to believe. And actually, I was having this conversation with my girlfriend, and she actually said, because she's in finance, and her job as a financial advisor is because people don't, or they look at money as it's this real esoteric thing that is hard to understand.
Right.
It's kind of like learning a language. Okay. You can learn another language. Or you can say to yourself, God, it's a lot of work. It's hard. I'll pay a translator. And you hire a translator. So you don't have to do the work. But you can learn a language. You can learn about money. You can learn about people. It all comes down to the work that you're willing to put into it. And once you realize it is a possibility, then you buckle down and you work hard. But as you're doing that, circumstances may change. And again, going back to having a kind of a plan B, you have to be, to me, because I know I've been this way, you have to be kind of flexible when it comes to stuff. Like I and you've done this too, because you followed me. I went from, Southern California to San Jose, California when you were just a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually moved to Oakland, was there for 15, 16 years, and then moved again to Portland.
Yeah.
Couple years there, and then moved to Seattle. I've never been like, I can't move. I'm here and that's it.
Right.
I've always been on a journey to find what works best for me.
Yeah.
Where is the best opportunities? How have I changed as a person in relation to what I want to do with my life? And if I've changed in relation to that, then I might be looking at things and having goals that are seemingly set, but I'll be like, maybe that's not it.
Yeah.
Maybe I should make a change.
Yeah.
And every time I've changed as a person, and every time I've taken on the challenges of life, I've grown an immense amount as a person, because that's the result of putting yourself in kind of uncomfortable positions. Plants do it.
Yeah.
You're always watering your plant and it's growing nice. Take away some of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Don't starve it to death, but you take away some of the water. You start watering it less, and the plant grows more. Like I have these plants in the back. They have these little I don't know what they're called, but they're like these little shoots that come off, and they're looking for the ground.
Okay.
Because once it hits the ground, it can take water from there.
Yeah.
And it'll start growing from there and propagating itself. But yeah, a lot of times it's the uncomfortability of life that is going to force you to grow. I think people can do amazing things, and more often than not, they can do things that they don't think they can do.
Right.
And they don't give themselves credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
And they can really change. But again, you have to be able to be flexible and, willing to change, willing to take on different things that might make you uncomfortable so that you grow as a person.
Yeah.
And you're going to get more out of life. That's just the way it works.
Yeah, it's important to not be so rigid and set in one way. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's what dooms a lot of people, and what makes people feel unhappy is that they'll either convince themselves that they can't do certain things, so they'll just stick to, doing one set of things, or they are so focused on doing one thing that they, like all these other things, all these other opportunities or whatever may present themselves, and they'll go, no, I'm set in this one way. But it's like, dude, you could have probably, went somewhere and done something cool if you fucking accepted those opportunities. Why are you being so rigid?
Yeah.
Even like, with me, it's like, when I was younger, I started off like, I was doing my art, and I was thinking like, what, maybe one day I'll, make a living making comics or some shit. And who knows, maybe that'll be a thing later on. I don't know. I'll keep myself open to that. Or, when I started doing YouTube, it's like, I thought, I'll be the next PewDiePie or some shit, and it's like, but then of course, like 15 plus years later, I'm not the next PewDiePie, so, but then of course the opportunity to be an editor for Third Gen Media came up. So it's like, yeah, of course I'm going to take that. And it's just the importance, the one of the important things to do, like, especially if you're growing up and you're trying to achieve some sort of goal, is to be flexible and to at least be open to other things and trying other things. And who knows, maybe where you end up will be the thing that's truly fulfilling.
Well, perfect example when you take our production company.
Yeah.
the business model that I had set up was for business to business.
Yeah.
If you got a business today, the way technology is and the way people market is through social media and, you know, Instagram, TikTok, you know, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, you might be like, I need a little commercial shot. I need someone to come in and shoot something so I can do little 30-second ads. And that's where we would come in. We have the equipment, we have the know-how, we can help you promote your business so you're not leaving money on the table, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you weren't super rigid around it. I mean, that's, yes, you like the business model and you want that to work, but what did we end up doing just recently? 48-hour film festival.
Yeah, 48-hour film festival. We're working on a film right now.
Yeah. Green, the directed by August Broussard. We shot that. It's still in post-production. And no one's getting paid.
Yeah.
But we're doing it, and you're doing it because it's a learning experience. You know, it's creative. And by doing it, it's going to help you grow, not only as an editor, but just as a human.
Yeah.
You know, and I when we first I remember we were getting ready for Green. So what happened was we did the auditions, and then we ended up getting a studio over by the Space Needle and renting it, and had the crew met up, all the actors, everyone involved, and we did some read-throughs and talking. But the first thing I said, because I'm the producer, I said, you know, welcome everyone. And I talked a little bit, and I said, you know, thank you for doing this. Your passion is palpable, you know, because this is not a paid gig. But, you know, after 20, 30 years of being a creative, there's nothing that moves me and gives me chills and makes me feel good about myself more. Not money, not fame, just to be able to go, see that? I did that.
Yeah.
and people, you did? Wow. That's so cool. You know, that makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know, again, we're not going to go too far. We're about 45 minutes in. We're going to end the podcast now. But yeah, anyone out there that's doing it, be able to be flexible, continue to educate yourself, be positive, and think up a couple of ways of doing something. A couple of, it's just like now, if I want to get from here to here, there's always, like, I can go this way, I can go that way. You know, there's different routes to get where you want to go. And you know, just saying there's only one is gonna stifle you as a creative. So you always have to be open to change and be flexible and kind of have plan Bs in place to help you get to your goals.
Yeah.
And with that, we are out. Follow us on social media.
Yeah, we're on Instagram. I think that's the only social media we have at the moment.
Or just listen to us on your favorite podcast streaming service.
Yes.
We're on everything.
Also, by the way, if you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, please, if you like this podcast, then please leave a good review, because that's how we're going to get views and for how people are going to get to know us. And if you don't, just send this to your enemies and, you know, leave a downvote and let us know why it sucks.
Yeah.
And if you're on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube,
give us a like.
Yeah,
give us a follow.
Give us a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to be notified of new episodes to come. We do this on a bi-weekly basis. Episodes always come out on Thursdays. And then on top of that, you know, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think about what we've talked about, and you know, share with us your own insights, and maybe we'll respond to some of those comments on the following episode.
Absolutely. And with that, stay cool, because it's hot out there.
Yes.
And we will see you in a couple weeks.
All right.
Peace out.
Peace.